The Bulls edge an attritional affair at Thomond Park. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. This was a bit of a weird one. Big mistake from the officials in the game. I'm sure Munster aren't going to be happy with that. Normally, I don't talk about these things, but we'll have a chat about it later because the officials themselves admitted that they made a mistake. So you don't see that very often. So Munster, before the game, I think it was Casey and Coombs were due to start, and they've lost both of them. And Murray and O'Donoghue are in to start instead. So Munster win an early penalty and they decide they're going to go up the line, but Crowley misses the kick to touch. Bulls then look to attack off the line out through their maul, but Munster disrupt and then they counter-ruck them off the ball. Crowley with a nice little half break and Munster win another penalty. He slots it from 40 metres for 3 points to 0. Bulls then with a scrum penalty and they go up the line to the edge of the 22. They go through a number of phases, working it within about 7 or 8 metres of the line, but play has to be stopped because Ollie Jaeger is down injured in the path of play. He has to go off for an HIA and he doesn't return, and that's part of what actually happens later in the game. Scrum to the Bulls. They go through more phases close to the line and Coetzee gets over to score, converted for 7 points to 3, Bulls lead. Crowley then puts the restart out on the full, scrum back. Bulls back into 22, applying pressure, but Kendallin turns it over and Munster can clear. Then we have a neck roll by Munster on Hewson, a neck roll by Munster and Hewson actually slots the kick, for 10 points to 3. Munster then go from their own line. Sean O'Brien intercepting a crossfield kick as the Bulls are attacking. They then work it left to right and Abrams puts on some nice footwork to bring them up to about halfway. They go to width and then they win a penalty up the line into the 22, but not straight at the line out, and that was one of the problems for them in the game. Hanekom then not rolling and Munster get another 22 entry as they go to the corner. They're on the line battering away, but the Bulls turn them over, but then immediately knock the ball on. And then there's a bit of a melee, Crowley and Hewson squaring up to one another, and then Vessels gets penalised for escalating it, so penalty to Munster. And then Munster get over. Good hands from Lankenbill and Crowley. Put Abrams over out wide. Crowley converts for 10 points all. And that was the halftime score. Into the second half then. Munster on the edge of 22. But really going nowhere. So Crowley with a kick in behind. And Moody is forced to carry over his own line. 5 minutes scrum to Munster. They then win a penalty at the scrum. Murray goes quickly. And Papier goes to the bin for not back 10. Munster goes to the corner, but then Nokia steals the line out. Brilliant from him. A really pivotal moment in the game there. Bulls then with a big shove on a Munster scrum. Coetzee puts Murray under pressure, and then Hanekom gets over the ball to win a penalty. Up the line they go, and then they win another penalty for offside. Hewson puts the Bulls back in front, 13 points to 10. Then Creel with a tackle off the ball on Byrne, and Crowley squares us up again at 13 all. Then Munster go down to 14. So this is the controversial bit of the game. So Stephen Archer had come on for Jaeger in this a prop, and then he has to go off injured. So then Munster are told they have to go down to uncontested scrums, which means because they've, basically it's like their fault, they have to go down to 14 men for the rest of the game. So we got about, 25 minutes or so to play in the game at that stage. Then, so Munster then looking to get wide, but then a poor pass and Moody kicks it on. There's a race after the ball towards the Munster try. Then the ball goes into touch, but if it had stayed in, it looked like Bulls are going to win that race. Crowley then puts a grubber in behind. Papier gets there first, but he's caught on the line. Abrams gets over the ball, competing there, but no clear release, so it's a penalty to Bulls. Then Crowley kicks a 50-22. Munster go quickly from it. They knock it on, but then Piardi says that he thinks it's actually wasn't a 50-22, and he stops play because he thinks it's a Bulls line out, but then his AR tells him no, it was a 50-22, so we come back to the line out again for Munster. But then the Bulls, they disrupt that, and Munster really go nowhere. Bulls then come forward, but Wycherley gets over the ball. He wins a penalty. And then at this stage, with about less than 10 minutes to go, we hear that Munster are going to go back to 15 because Piardi calls the two captains in, and he explains because the first injury to Jaeger was an HIA, that they shouldn't have gone down to 14 in the first place. So you can imagine, Munster aren't too happy with that revelation, but they're at least back to 15 for the rest of the game. Then they come forward, Ruan Quinn off the bench with some decent carries, but then Hanekom gets over the ball to win a penalty. I thought Hanekom and Kutsia for the Bulls in their back row were both excellent. Kilgannon then caught just outside his own 22. He was looking to run a kick back, but he kind of gets scragged. Then Zach Berger, replacement scrum half, gets over the ball to win a penalty, and it really was like a big, like a cameo from him, but it's actually almost a game-winning cameo there. Big kick here for Johannes, but he pulls it across the post, and I have a feeling like if Houston had been on, he would have slotted that to put them ahead. We then have a Timo check for a shoulder to head by Kendlin, penalty to the Bulls, and Johannes with another chance, but this time he strikes it brilliantly and it just sails right between the posts. 16 points to 3, the Bulls lead. Then the Bulls kick out in the full twice, and they give Munster position in their own half. Like they kicked out the first time, and then they managed to work it back into the Munster half. Then they pass it back into their own half and kick it out on the full again. Then Zach Berger has to go off injured, so Papier is back on. So Berger only on for a few minutes, but he looked decent when he was on. Munster then come forward. They have it from about 79 minutes and whatever seconds right up until the end of the game, basically. Like, so two or 3 minutes maybe, like, and two and a half of those minutes or so, clock in the red. Coming up, they look really tired, honestly, but they're making a little bit of ground, but the Bulls are looking decent in defence. Munster are not going to break the line. They're not going to score a try, but they're trying to get in position at least for an attempt at a drop goal. But then just as they get up to the edge of the 22, they knock it on, and then that is it. Like, brilliant Bulls defence, and final score is 16-13, Bulls win. And, people will say, Munster really affected by having to go down to 14, for 15 minutes or so, and thinking that they're going to be down like for the rest of the game or wherever it was. It might have even been more than 15 minutes. But it was 25? Yeah, it was 53 minutes, I think, when they went down. And then it was 70 something minutes. So yeah, maybe almost 20 minutes. But that's not the Bulls' fault, and I thought the Bulls, they defended well. They took their chances, when they got them. They slotted their kicks, and, again, it was a big win, I think, for them. And, they can only play what's in front of them. They're not the ones that said Munster had to go down to 14 when they didn't. And as the referee said, the rules, or like, it's actually the laws, but he said rules, that the rules around it were very complicated. But they got the laws right in the end. But certainly Munster would have hoped that they had arrived at the right decision a little bit earlier, and save them, a bit more of the effort. But let's have a look at the stats, and then we'll talk about each of the teams. So to start with, 1 try scored each. Munster 58% possession to 42 for the Bulls. Clean break 6 for Munster, just 1 for the Bulls. 22 defenders beaten by Munster to 18 by the Bulls. So definitely Munster scramble defence better than the Bulls. Offloads 4-3 onto defence then. Territory 53% to 47. 84 tackles to 124. Missed tackles 18-20. Tackle success 80% for Munster is not great. 83 for the Bulls is getting on kind of average. And then turnovers 1, 3 for Munster and 4 for the Bulls. Kicks retained then 7-6. So both teams, using the kicking game a lot. There were a lot of kind of up and unders and some really good contests in the air as well. Penalties conceded then just 7 for Munster to 12 for the Bulls. So, it's very rare you actually see a team so low in the single figures and not winning the game. So again, the Bulls, they took their chances really in the game. On to players then. Tries, Abrahams with 1 and Coetzee with 1. They were the only tries in the game. Successful carries then 4 for Farrell and 8 for Hanekom. Clean breaks 2 for Tom Ahern. He was excellent, and then he actually got replaced by Ruan Quinn, who was decent as well. And then de Klerk with 1 for the Bulls. Defenders beaten, Abrams with 5 and Hanekom with 5 as well. Meters made, Sean O'Brien with 63 and Kenny Moody with 26. That's a low number, and to think he's the highest on the team as well. Offloads 1 for Farrell and 1 for Papier. Onto defence then, Tom Ahern with 12 tackles, Coetzee with 16, so we got to try, puts in a bunch of tackles as well, and I'm pretty sure he got player of the match. But not far behind was Hanekom with 2 turnovers, 1 there as well. Jack Crowley actually with 2 for Munster as well. So let's talk about each of the teams. So we start with the home team, Munster. So the first time they lost at Thomond to a South African side, and yes, a lot of this is going to be kind of almost an asterisk beside it because of the mix-up about going down to the 14, right? But Munster on attack, they didn't look very dangerous, honestly, and got to give credit to the Bulls' defence for that. Bulls, I thought, very quick off the line, and Munster, they looked like in recent weeks they were getting a cutting edge in that back line, but didn't really have it today. The kicks in behind though were good. They put some really decent kicks in behind. They turned the Bulls and they put pressure on, but they just couldn't, at crucial moments they couldn't deliver. And that's maybe something a little bit missing from the game, and they need to find that in the next few rounds going into those knockout games. First of all, if they're to make it there, but I think they probably will make it, but they're definitely going to be, definitely is a bit strong, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be away at this stage now in the playoffs, and probably away down in South Africa. So it's going to be a tough one for them, but when they won the URC, they had to do it that way as well a couple of seasons ago. So nothing new for them, but still, you feel like they've got to find a little bit extra over the next few rounds to really get themselves in good position for the playoffs. From the Bulls' point of view, brilliant win for them. It was very hard fought win. I thought their defense was good. Some really big carriers on their side as well. They took their points well. They were on top in the scrum when they were contested scrums. Line out, like the Munster line out, a bit shaky at times. They didn't really show much ambition either in terms of going to win. We know the Bulls, they can, like, I've talked about this before. The Bulls kind of have like two ways of playing. Like they have their 10-man game where the outside backs don't see the ball at all, and the forwards just say it's our game, we're going to boss it. And then they have that game where the forwards do their thing, but also they're looking to involve the rest of the backs and looking to exploit space. Today was definitely one of those ones where it was the forwards taking things on, and it was the kind of conditions, the kind of game for it, honestly. So, and they got there in the end. They got the win. So for them, it's a big win in terms of what it is, winning at Thomond Park, etc. But also just a big win in the overall context as well, because it means that not only do they keep the pressure up now on Glasgow ahead of them, but they also kind of, the Sharks won last night away to Edinburgh, and they were putting pressure on them, so they kind of relieve some of that pressure on themselves as well, because they want to be, well, they ideally want to be number one, right, going into the playoffs. So, but realistically, they're looking at either keeping on to third place or third seeds, or pipping Glasgow to that second seed place. And to do that, they have to keep winning. They probably have to win their remaining 3 games as well to do that. So this is, I think, is a massive win for them. Munster, they got a bonus point, out of the game. But now, I think any ideas of a home quarter final are probably gone at this stage for them. Like, there still is kind of the miracle, like win the rest of their games and the Sharks slip up and they pip them, possibility, but it's much, much harder for them now after this. So, a weird game, honestly, especially with that mistake from the officials, and the fact that they come out before the end of the game as well and said that, fair play to them as well for saying, listen, we got it wrong, and there's nothing we can do. They can't turn back time, but we will go back to 15 versus 15, because you can imagine, the kind of the embarrassment, first of all, of getting it wrong, right? But the second thing is, like, I'm not saying officials do it, but you can imagine, like, in your job with some people, there are different types of people, right? You make a mistake, and you either put your hand up and say, listen, I made a mistake, I'm sorry for it, but can't really do anything about it. I'll try and not make the same mistake again, or wherever, right? Or there's those kind of people that go, I made a mistake and I'm not going to admit that I made a mistake, and I'm not going to reverse anything at all. You have that style as well. I'm not saying that there are officials that would do that, but it's a possibility somewhere along the line that if you got somebody like that, they might try and say, listen, let's leave it till the end of the game, and then we'll explain afterwards, if somebody pulls us up on it or whatever. But yeah, can't really do anything about it. But that is the end of that one. So let me know what you think down in the comments.